Good evening. I'm Melinda Boone, Superintendent of Norfolk Public Schools. It's my pleasure to be able to welcome you tonight to the public hearing on the Superintendent's proposed budget for the 1920 school year. To open up, the board members and the audience will receive a very brief presentation from Rhonda Ingram, our Chief Financial and Operations Officer, who will provide highlights and the focus and alignment of this particular budget. Following that, the board will come to the stage and will be ready to entertain our speakers for tonight's public hearing. So, Ms. Ingram.
Thank you, Dr. Boone. What I will be presenting for you this afternoon is a high-level overview of what's included in the superintendent's proposed budget. Normally, when we are doing presentation of what's guiding our principals, we always talk about, we include the school board or the school division priorities, and then also the theory of action. That is what we have this, the administration has developed to say this is our commitment to the students, the parents, and the community of our promise of what we will provide to every student in the division. The funding priorities for the 2020 school year is to continue the phase-in of our pay and comp study. This will be phase 3. To continue salary incentives for our hard-to-staff schools, to complete the restoration of instructional technology resource teachers, to continue funding to support behavioral intervention and support programs, complete the phase-in of athletic trainers at our high schools, to continue to phase in full-time bus attendants to assist with transporting our students with special needs, and to increase funding for our facilities repair and maintenance. Our budget is based on the General Assembly adopted amendments to the 2018-2020 biennium budget, and we are projecting our March ADM to be 27,234 students. In comparing that to our current year, we are down approximately 750 students from what we projected as the budget for this current year. So with our state funding, we are expecting to receive $197.5 million. Our city appropriation will be $126 million. That's the regular appropriation that goes towards operating the district. Last year, the City Council approved an ordinance where we will share revenue streams with them for contribution. So we will be implementing for the first time under that agreement revenue sharing with the city. And that right now the projection is we will receive $3 million in additional operating funds. The CTI debt is several years ago, the city passed a real estate tax increase, and the funding for the schools was to go towards construction, technology, and infrastructure, and also to help fund the construction of new schools. If you recall, over the past 4.5 years, we have been constructing 5 new schools in the PPEA, and we are currently in the process of completing. The same. I don't know why it's going in and out. So this is a comparison to show that our state revenues is about 58.7% of our total budget, and city funding is approximately 38.6%, with federal dollars about 1.7%, and other revenues is 1%. So what this budget proposal supports is phase 3 of the pay and comp study. 3 years ago, we went through a pay and comp study with the division, and the intent was to try to phase in recommendations for that over a 4-year period. And 2020 would be the 3rd year of completing that salary phase in. We have a 4% health rates increase that will be shared by the employer and the employee. We're going to continue to fund salary incentives to our hard-to-staff schools. The current year we were doing teachers. For 2020, we are proposing to include stipends for our teacher assistants as well. We're going to continue the restoration of instructional technology resource teachers, and that should complete that, the staffing so that we would now meet SOQ requirements for instructional resource teachers. We're going to continue to fund and support behavioral intervention and support programs. The current year what we did was we included funding in the budget to provide support at the elementary level. Schools with an enrollment of 500 or more receive a full-time in-school suspension monitor, and those less than 500 students receive part-time funding. This year, we're proposing to increase that and put a 1 FTE in each of our secondary schools. We also have 8 positions for teacher assistants to support students with special needs, and we also can complete the phase-in of athletic trainers in all of our high school. Previously, we were under a contract with ODU, and they are changing their program and phasing that out. So over the past few years, we have been including 1 athletic trainer in our high school. So with adding 1 in 2020, then all of our high schools will have that athletic trainer. We're also proposing to increase counselors at our schools. The General Assembly changed the staffing ratio of students per counselor, and by being in accordance with that guidelines, we will add 3 positions for counselors in the schools. We're going to continue the phase-in of converting part-time bus attendants to full-time to assist, and that's 15 positions. Prior to this current year, we had part-time attendants to assist with transporting the students. So now we are adding 15. We added 15 the current year, and next year we're proposing to add another 15, and we're going to continue that phase-in until we get a full-time assistant on our special needs runs. Also in the transportation department, we had reviews by the Council of Great City Schools, and they had recommended some changes to improve efficiencies in our transportation department. So what we're proposing as well is to add 1 routing manager and 1 payroll clerk. Currently, we have 1 in our transportation department for routing, who does the routing for all of our buses, and 1 payroll clerk. And when you're having over 200 bus drivers and doing payrolls and for all the other staff members in transportation, it's a daunting task for 1 person. So doing that recommendation, we will have now 2 routing clerks and 2 payroll clerks. And also in Camp Allen, the new school, we opened up with phase 1 in September of this year. When we open phase 2, either in the fall or next year, due to the size of the building, we are going to add 1 custodial to help with the custodial work at that building, because we staff based on square footage. We also are proposing to increase the teacher allocation from $50 to $100. This is in addition to the funding that the schools get for instructional supplies, but this is money that the teacher actually buys, like classroom supplies for doing bulletin boards or what have you. So we're proposing to increase that to $100. And I believe we were doing $100 up until probably 2013-14 when we had a reduction due to challenges with the budget. So now we're putting it back at that level. Phase 3 of our pay and comp study, what we are proposing is the new salary scale that was developed is a 30-step scale, and we are trying to get this equal amounts between the steps. So what we're proposing to do is, first we're going to add 0.5% to the beginning of the step, and then increasing the steps between 2 and 4. They are currently a little less than 2%, so we're proposing to phase that in and try to get them up to the same level of 2% like we have at step 5 and above. The starting pay for our teachers will be $44,200, and this will provide a step increase for all full-time contracted employees. And when we do that, the average salary increase for our staff would be 3.1%. I talked about the 4% increase in health insurance, and basically just to share with you our plan, we have 3 different plans and over 4 different tiers there. But what I really wanted to give you an example of is what will, this example is showing a teacher, this particular teacher I believe is currently on step 3. If we give that teacher a step increase based on what we're proposing, their biweekly pay will increase $58.43. And if you go down to the highlighted level where it says health insurance, if their health insurance based on their current plan increases by 4%, their health insurance will go up $2. So we're just basically showing that given the salary increase, it's not being eaten up by a 4% increase in the health insurance. This is another teacher who is currently on step 11, showing the same thing. Their salary increase will be $83.47, and based on their plan, their increase will go up $7. And here again, that's showing that the increase in health insurance will not be taking up their salary increase. Staffing changes. In balancing the budget, this is the proposal that's included. We are decreasing, due to enrollment, 30 teaching positions. As I showed you on the earlier slide, we're down approximately 750 students. We're also proposing to the enrollment from the state, what they are projecting that we should be getting funding for, and that's 2 classes with 2 teachers and 2 paras. We're reducing 2 central office positions. We're also reducing 2 support positions from closing in elementary school. Last month, the school board proposed the changing of closing Poplar Halls and doing a shift between Fairlawn and Poplar Halls and moving Lake Taylor School to a 3-8. So in doing that, the duplication of staffing in those schools, we can reduce 2 positions. The transportation staffing, where I shared with you of converting to full-time bus attendants and then adding the routing clerk and the payroll clerk is there. The custodian for Camp Allen School, the instructional technology resource teacher, the 8 teacher assistants, counselors due to the change in staffing ratios, the athletic trainer, and school suspension monitors for the secondary schools, a 12 position, and then the upgrade from a part-time to full-time for the mail clerk. So that's a net decrease in the budget of 8 positions. This slide is showing you that the bulk of our budget is in salaries and benefits. If you see the salaries proportion there is 60.8% and fringe benefits is 24.5%. So approximately 85% of our total budget goes towards our staff. And then we have the other 14.7% is to run the other operations of the district. So in summary, to support Norfolk Public Schools students, educational programs, and staff for fiscal year 2019-2020, the superintendent proposed an operating budget of $336,161,801. Next steps, tonight we're having the public hearing. Next week there will be a school board work session. On March the 20th, there will be another school board work session with the hopes of approving the budget at the regular meeting at 7 p.m. because our budget is due to City Council on April the 1st. So that basically gives you a highlight overview of what's included in the superintendent's proposed budget. Thank you. Okay. And I have copies of the presentation if anyone wants one.
Come forward to the microphones that we have here. You can adjust it to suit your height. State your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you're employed by the system. State your position and give your any relevant facts and data. Tonight's hearing is on the budget, and so we ask that you keep all items related to the budget. And if you have any items or papers that you have brought with you, you can give them to the clerk and she can get them to us. Please, let's see, you're limited to a one-time appearance of 3 minutes. When the clerk signals that your time is up, please quickly wrap up your comments to be seated. And it's important to note that the board does not respond to the citizen remarks at the time that they are given. Ms. Jackson, do we have a list of the speakers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For tonight's public hearing, we have 10 speakers. Our first speaker is Ms. Hope Sinclair, followed by Johnny Watkins, Sr.
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, members of the board. My name is Johnny Watkins. I am the Development Director for Communities and Schools of Hampton Roads. I'm standing in place of Dr. Sinclair, Hope Sinclair, who is our Executive Director for the organization. I was told I had 10 minutes, so I will cut this down. I would just tell you it's an honor to stand before you and tell you who we are and the impact that we're making in 5 of your schools here in Norfolk and the needs that we're asking for. Communities in Schools is a national recognized nonprofit organization that has been around for 46 years. We currently have been in the Hampton Roads region, this being our sixth year. We are in 5 of your schools, which is, and I'm going to go to that page, Norview High School, Chesterfield Academy, Suburban Park, and Ruffner Academy, Booker T. Washington School. We come before you, we have site coordinators that are placed inside of your schools that are serving as advocates for your teachers and your students, and we have a success rate of 90% of improving their behavior, their attendance, their academics, and their graduation. I do have the results of that, but I want to make sure I meet my time here. Our funding request is that right now we are not funded by the school board. We are covering that 100% of ourselves. We're asking for $66,440 to support our site coordinators that are inside the schools so that we can make a greater impact on these particular schools. We humbly solicit your financial support so that we can make a great impact, producing better and behaved, educated children, which in turn means better citizens for the great city of Norfolk. I would like to give you some of our stats here if I still have some time. In the 2017-2018 school year, the school enrollment was 7,606 students. We case managed over 588, provided a whole school initiative tier 1 to 6,409. 66% of our students improved in attendance, 87% improved in behaviors, 75% improved in course performance, 93% were promoted, and we had a 97% rate of graduation for the high school. So we just ask for your financial support to support our organization. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Mr. Philip Hawkins Jr., followed by Devin Calpo.
Good evening. My name is Philip Hawkins Jr., and I am the president of the Education Association of Norfolk, the local affiliate of the Virginia Education Association, and the NEA, the National Education Association. I am also a pre-kindergarten VPI teacher at the PB Young Senior Elementary School. I am a proud product of Norfolk Public Schools. I'm proud to be standing in my alma mater. I am a 1987 graduate of Norview High School, which I am proud to be a pilot. Tonight, I am here to address the top 4 priorities of the Education Association for the 2019-2020 school year, which relates to the school budget. The EAN supports the full implementation of the Phase 3 of the compensation and pay study. We need to remain competitive with the teaching field in the surrounding area in order to retain teachers and secure new qualified teachers and staff. Teachers are seeking employment in other areas. They're still doing that due to low pay and working conditions. So we need to continue to work in a fiscal manner to improve those areas. Compensation. We would like to move into the 3rd phase in ensuring that we do get a measurable raise. We are appreciative that we see that 3.1% has been established as a starting point, but we would like to ask that we could work hard to ensure that it would be at least a 5 to 7% raise and phase in up to 10% over the course of 2 fiscal years so that we can remain competitive. We do recognize that teachers across the Commonwealth are not competitive nationally, and that is why we are continuing to recruit them for this profession here in Norfolk. We also need to focus on our education support professionals. We still recognize that many of our support staff, instructional support staff in our schools our custodians, our teacher assistants, our media assistants, our bus assistants, and many other staff support positions are not paid a living wage. We need to work to support that. And I would like to also ask the board and the leadership to look at I know that we're trying to absorb the 4% increase in the health insurance, but I noticed in the presentation it did not address the paraprofessionals and how it affects their income, because many of them, when they get paid, they need another paycheck right away, and many of them are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. So I encourage this body to look at that. I do appreciate that for the hard to staff schools, we are looking at funding additional support money for them. I have provided my full statement to the clerk for the board to review, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, March 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Calpo?
Hello, I am Devin Calpo. I am a senior at Norview High School, co-president of the environmental club at my school. I just was coming today to talk about a potential deal that could be done with Norfolk Public Schools in relations to solar panels within our school system. This deal is being brought to you by Secure Futures. I've notified Dr. Gabriel and Mr. Clanton about this opportunity, and I just wanted to share this opportunity with the rest of the school board as well as the superintendent. Secure Futures is bringing a valuable deal that involves essentially the cost of only paying for the energy. They do the installation, they do the maintenance costs, and as well as ensuring that the roofs can support the actual solar panels. The budget, in regards to the budget, it's been shown that Secure Futures over a period of 20 years has been able to save $2 million for certain school systems, such as, I believe, in Fredericksburg. That translates to about $100,000 a year. That money that it is saved can then be used to reinvest back into our school system and supporting our students and staff. In addition, they also provide a curriculum for our students in order to learn about solar power. This can be from elementary school all the way up to the Norfolk Technical Center, which in turn provides training for the understanding of solar power, which causes a more uptake within solar engineers, basically. So I have stats right here with me in regards to that, and I was hoping that you guys could look into that, especially our Superintendent, Dr. Boone.
Thank you. Next, we have Ty McCoy, followed by Neil George.
Gotta pull this up just a little bit. All right. Greetings, school board members, administrators, and guests. We are not just signs, dollar signs, and percentages. If you change a school, you will change a community. Teachers, staff, parents, or administrators cannot trust a school board or administration that is divided. A district is only as strong as its leadership. This is no longer about who is right or wrong, personal agendas, or gripes, but about having a clear understanding of what this district stands in need of. We elect as well as hire qualified individuals such as yourselves to sit on our school board and in administration to help push important initiatives forward to assist in getting our needs met across the board. With this, we need to get back on track with market competitive pay that lines up with our job descriptions, education, skill, and knowledge of our positions. This will help to attract the highly qualified professional staff that this district needs and deserves, and to keep the highly qualified cafeteria, custodial, clerical, transportation, teachers, paraprofessionals, and administrative staff that is currently in place from leaving a district that they love and have invested blood, sweat, and tears in. We need to stop being fearful of the parents whose children we educate and have to teach and keep safe each and every day. Also be willing to stand firm on the policies and procedures implemented in the NPS Code of Conduct that is approved year after year by our school board and administration. These policies are supposed to enforce rules and regulations to help protect our teachers, students, and staff from repeated behavior experiences daily. Trust me, as a district, if we do and say what we mean across the board concerning our financial status, there will be less turnover in our district. Teachers, students, and staff would feel safe and secure, and you will win back the trust of the parents and the community. Again, I say, if you change a school, you will change the heart, spirits, and souls of this community. Thank you.
Dr. Boone, members of the board, appreciate you all being here. You put a lot of work into this. You know, you all especially put a lot of work into this. I've had some experience with budgets, especially in declining revenues, and it's really interesting. Very easy to read, really presentable, and thank you for that tonight. I am a teacher. I work at Norview High School. I'm very proud of the fact that we won today, so state champions. I'm also proud of some of our students and the work that they are doing, that they are advocating to not only make their school, but the community a better place. I am a parent of a graduate from Norview High School, and I have a senior there. I am one of your autism inclusion teachers. I have a classroom where I work with students that I teach social skills. I also teach work habits. And I love what I'm doing. I just have a difficulty that I'm doing it in conditions that, you know, aren't the best. They're horrible at times. My room often smells like urine. You know, in the afternoon, my for whatever reason, there are about a dozen rooms at Maury that stink. It's AP rooms, it's special ed rooms, it's gen ed rooms, it's just whatever. A lot of work has gone into fixing this problem. Y'all are familiar with it. You've been studying Maury for some time. There's any number of proposals. Who knows what will happen and when it will happen. I just encourage you to do it quickly. My concern tonight, though, is as I look at the operation and maintenance budget, I see on page 201, operations maintenance program D40. I'm not exactly sure what all that covers, but I see that building materials and supplies is 1.45 million. I see in facilities program D66, that's page 203, that there's 1.3 million. That's a lot of money, but you know, that's peanuts for what is needed at Maury. You know, between my room where my walls are caving in, you know, literally crumbling, the smell, the urinal that they had to fix because we had, well, you guys are familiar with what happened. You know, it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation for our kids. And I appreciate everything that you're doing. As a teacher, I appreciate the money that you're giving me, the increase. But you know, I want to teach in a safe place. I want to teach in a healthy place. I've got terrible allergies like a lot of our students. I go home every day with a headache. I go home feeling congested. I feel sick. I've removed my students out of the classroom so that they're in a safe place. So again, I really appreciate what you're doing, but I'm concerned that there's not enough money in here just to deal with Maury's problems, and we've got an entire district with a lot of older buildings. Y'all have done a great job getting some of the new schools. They're beautiful. This school is incredible. You know, I just encourage you to keep on thinking about that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jessica Olson, followed by Cheryl Lacey.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Gabriel, Vice Chair, Mr. Clanton, Superintendent, Dr. Boone, and other distinguished members of the school board. My name is Jessica Olson, and I'm in my 14th year of service to Norfolk Public Schools. I'm here tonight because I have reached the end of the line. Over the past 2 years, I've sent numerous emails to my supervisor, human resources, and to the school board. Along this journey, I was met with cyclical statements that never truly gave me answers to my concerns or questions. As a last resort, I am here speaking publicly. The actions taken over the last 2 years to address the compressed pay scale are baffling. Why have you spent so much money creating new pay scales instead of addressing the compression on the original pay scale? I, along with other employees, was dropped one step when the district created a new pay scale during phase 1 of the pay and compensation study. I know this was done in an effort to prevent employees from losing pay, but in my opinion, this movement was not done correctly. All employees with the same number of years of service to the district should have been moved the same way. This is not what happened. A colleague of mine who entered the district at the same time as me on the same step was moved on the new pay scale up a step. This change created a 2-step discrepancy. Let me be clear. This caused myself and other employees who dropped a step to be even more compressed on the pay scale. Another colleague started teaching the year after me, a full step lower on the pay scale. She too moved up a step when I moved down. She now makes more money than I do. How is this considered fair compensation? My request was to be put on the proper step, the same step as teachers I started teaching in the district with. This era is directly impacting my retirement and future earning potential. Furthermore, how do you fix compression by creating more compression? As a professional, I followed protocol. I brought my concerns to human resources. I expressed that I believed the district had made an error. I wanted to know what basis they had for moving people onto the new pay scale. I was told that Human Resources didn't make that decision. If Human Resources didn't make the decision, then who did? What basis did they use for moving employees with the same years of service who were on the same step to various steps on the new pay scale? Mr. Billups brought my concern to you, the board. The board directed the administration to not change my placement on the pay scale. I'm not sure if you completely understood my concern or request, but as a collective group, I'm almost done. You have decided that I am not deserving of the compensation I have earned after 14 years of service to the students and faculty of Norfolk Public Schools. In a time when teacher retention is critical, why would you vote against loyal and dedicated Norfolk Public Schools teachers? And you have the rest of my statement in your packet. Thank you.
Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, and members of the board, my name is Cheryl Lacey, and I live at 605 Resch Court in Chesapeake. I've been a proud NPS teacher for 21 years, and I'm a proud board member of the NFT. I come before you tonight to ask you to consider our growing population of English as a second language students. I have been an ESL teacher for the 21 years I've been here, and when I started, we had 76 students. We now have almost 1,000. We need more teachers. Many of us are assigned to multiple schools. I have 3 schools this year. Another teacher has 5. I've even had 6 before. That's 6 schools a week to service. In order to be effective, we need more full-time teachers. Teaching at 2 and 3 schools per day means less time with our students who need us so much. Some have come straight from their countries and don't speak any English yet, but we can only see them twice a week due to our schedules. When students don't get enough instruction, we're setting them up for failure in the classroom because they don't get the intense instruction they need. When they don't get the intense instruction they need, they don't do well in their classroom, district, and state testing. Our English language learners are now expected to show a certain amount of growth beginning this year, but they might not show that certain percentage due to a lack of appropriate support. I'm asking you to consider adding additional ESL teachers to next year's budget. What we teach is important and it needs to be valued. I hope that you'll all work together for the benefit of our children. This is not about taking sides. You should all be on the sides of our children. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rikita Witten-Robinson, followed by Peggy Scott.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Rikita Witten-Robinson. I do teach first grade at Richard Bowling Elementary School. I did want to address some of the things I've already heard tonight about the school budget, but I am in complete and total agreement with what you just heard from Jessica Olson about the step increase. I think teachers need immediately to be put on the correct step. I have been teaching for 27 years, and you would be surprised at what step I am on with Norfolk Public Schools. It is an egregious wrong, and it does need to be corrected right away. This is not something we can wait on. And as we start to propose a budget to get from the state and to go to city council with, the first thing we need to do as a school board is to humble ourselves because we have not been good stewards before of the money that we've been given. So we have got to go to them with humility and tell them how we're going to correct this wrong. How are we going to compensate these teachers? And the things that we've done in the past that was not good stewards of our money. So with that being said, I wanted to share just a little insight about me personally as a school teacher. I've been teaching for 26 years, and when I came to Norfolk schools, I was excited. I was at a wonderful school, and I had a wonderful administrator who was very supportive, and I saw that Norfolk was doing good things. I have a family that's from Norfolk. My parents are 1967 graduates from Booker T. Washington High School. My parents were students at Richard Bowling Elementary, so I was happy to give back to the community. And then I had a situation where I was put out of school, and I had a long-term sub be paid while I sat at home. I don't know where in the budget I get paid and a long-term sub gets paid, and then the next thing I know, I just get put back into school, just like nothing ever happened. That kind of ruined my reputation and gave me a very bad taste in my mouth for Norfolk Public Schools. So I gave you one more year. I said I can do one more year. And I hope that during this 1 year that I can see that you are truly trying to put teachers back on the correct pay scale. And I would love to see us humble ourselves, because we need to do the right thing with our budget. We don't need to be paying long-term substitutes for teachers while they sit at home. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peggy Scott, and I have a grandson at this great school who will be graduating this year, and I am the class of '64, which makes me older than anybody in this building. In the budget, I found a few areas that I had questions and concerns about. Under operations and maintenance, out-of-town registrations was increased by 167.4%, meals and lodging by 34.6%, and transportation by 12.1%. Under attendance and health services, registrations was increased by 280%, meals and lodging 404%, and transportation by 412%. Under classroom instruction, out-of-town registration was 3,500, but no amounts for meals and lodging or transportation. No amounts for registration listed from 2016 to 2019, but zero listed as an increase. If you didn't spend any money for the previous 3 years and now we're spending $3,500, I think that is more than a 0% increase, or maybe like some students, I just don't understand the new math. The amounts of increases from all of the above came to a total of $42,000. In the technology program D80, there was a 33.6% increase in funding for administration, but no change for hourly techs. I read the basis of school allocations for each school needs, and I understand this is something that the principal works on as to what their school needs. It stated that remediation and safety nets both are allocated upon executive director's approval. If it is not approved, is there another option that a principal can seek if the need is really great or if the director's word is final? We are eliminating 2 preschool classrooms due to state funding cuts. We should find a way to fund these as they are very much needed. We are giving teachers an increase in pay, but too many of them are not on the correct step. Teachers need to be put on the correct step. Under budget priorities on page 5, it states, the understanding that successful school improvement is done through implementing strategies that will produce sustainable results over time is chief consideration in the budget planning process, yet when I look at our overall SOLs from last year on the VDOE site, we had a decrease in every subject except for 6th grade reading, which went up 1 point. All end-of-course SOLs had a decrease also. This cries out for at least 12 qualified math and reading specialists, but none are being added. I have to ask, why not? I realize the VDOE lowered the benchmark for accreditation, but it does not mean we should not be seeking higher standards for our students. We need 2 more music and 2 more visual art teachers so that a full-time one is in every school so they don't have to travel to other schools to teach for a day. Under awards for 2019, I saw that Mary Calcott received the VDOE Purple Star School designation.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
I will finish. Tarleton also received the same award, but we are not mentioned. I'd like to thank the person who on page 47, 73, 206, and 218 printed the words intentionally left blank.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
So that my brain could get a much-needed rest during the reading of 236 pages. I would like to thank the board for the hard job that y'all are doing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, those are our speakers for this evening.
Thank you very much for your comments. We have another work session planned for March 13th. I encourage you to watch the session that we had prior to this hearing. And if there are any further items that come to your mind as you do read the budget, please feel free to email the board, the superintendent, so we can take all of your thoughts into consideration. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedules tonight to be here. We sincerely appreciate it. This hearing is adjourned. All right, Dr. Boone has a comment.
Leaves. Tomorrow evening, there will be a chance for a community conversation, public comments related to the middle school pathway proposed changes for students who attend Ingleside Elementary School, Coleman Place Elementary School, and Sherwood Forest. That will be held at Norview Middle School at 6 p.m. You're invited to share your thoughts. Thank you.